Next up, we have a great company who are also one of our brand sponsors. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm round of applause to British Airways. So today we have a wonderful panelist. We have Leslie Grant, who is the work experience partner. We have Cheyenne Answer, who is a future leaders business placement. We have Malia Ruti, who's a business professional apprentice. And we have Denny Nkabinde, who is a digital experimentation specialist. Please, you're welcome up. Let's give them a round of applause. Let's feel comfortable. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Yeah, sorry. So today they're going to have an interactive conversation, I believe, around, landing an internship, graduate role, or apprenticeship in a tough job market. Once again, please, if you want to ask them any questions, please scan the QR code just there, shoot your questions through, and we will try and get through as much as we can. Thank you so much and enjoy.
Okay, where do I start? I think I'll start kind of just by giving you a brief as to who I am, what I've done within British Airways, and kind of my journey. I think we'll start with that. Happy with that? Okay, so as you know, my name is Leslie Grant. I am currently the work experience partner within our emerging talent team. I've been at BA for 17 years. I've seen a few of your eyes go, what? Yes. I know I don't look old enough, but I have been, I promise. I started my BA kind of career in Heathrow Terminal 5, so I was actually a check-in agent, and I did quite a few roles. They ranged from check-in to falling into the customer service training role. So I trained cabin crew on the service that they would provide on board our aircraft. So that was short-haul service as well as long-haul service, even in our premium cabins as well. And British Airways has an amazing kind of program where they allow their staff to go into different departments to be able to build their skill set and then bring back some of that skill set back to their permanent role. So for those of you that play or know football quite well, I'm kind of on loan in that respect to another department. Some of you got that. Yes, my guy at the back. So I've kind of use these, capitalize on these opportunities to be able to build myself personally as well as professionally. I'm currently, as I said, in this role, but my permanent role, the role that I'm also very passionate about it's called a quality assurer. So in that role, I assess our safety and medical trainers who deliver safety and medical training to our cabin crew and our pilots. Basically, my team ensure that the training is engaging, but it's also compliant in accordance with the Civil Aviation Authority. If we're not happy with it, we will always put things in place to ensure that our trainers are fully supported. So yeah, that's kind of me, 17 years, quite condensed.
So, afternoon everyone. As everyone said, my name's Malia. I'm currently a business professional apprentice and I've just come straight from sixth form and I started last September. So my apprenticeship is quite unique in the fact that we get to trial different placements for 4 months. So my first one was in cabin crew policy and support. I loved that one. It was basically telling the cabin crew if they were late, sort of implementing policy and getting to know them. Then my second placement was in transformation, and that's all project management. And I worked on some really exciting projects. So I opened the new Gatwick hangar, which we bought from Boeing. And I've worked on other smaller projects. And now I'm currently in the emerging talent team, and that is basically all things new careers, so in early careers, so apprenticeships, grad schemes, placements, interns, and then working a little bit with the work experience and sort of getting our apprentices to volunteer. For me, as I said, I've come straight from sixth form. I didn't have any work experience apart from I did a little bit at Spotify in 2021. So for me, coming from sixth form to a corporate environment was a big adjustment. You don't have your form tutor telling you what time to get in. It is completely you. I think at the beginning it was quite an adjustment, just knowing, actually, I've got no one telling me what I need to do, where I need to be at an exact time. And I think the biggest thing was just managing my time and managing my workload, as well as all of my friends, seeing them go to uni and me having a very, very different experience as I'm in the office Monday to Friday, or I might be working from home. But I would definitely say as somebody who has Caribbean parents, sort of persuading them to do an apprenticeship wasn't easy. Me and my parents had multiple arguments going, oh, you should go to uni. I don't think you should do an apprenticeship. But now I think she'll look and be quite proud that I'm a year in, I've stuck at it, and it's something I really enjoy.
So, hi everyone, my name is Cheyenne Ansar, and I did an industry placement at British Airways. So, my degree was originally in finance and accounting, but when I did start at BA, I was more interested in data and technology. So, during the 11 months, I was in a team called Data and Automation, and for the first 6 months of my placement, I was doing business analysis. So, many different departments in BA would want automations and would want their processes to be more efficient. So I would have many meetings, stakeholder meetings, and understand what are the inputs, what are the outputs to the automations they needed. And for the second half of my placement, I was actually creating the automations. So I was using SQL. We didn't use Python, but we were using very low code solutions. And it was tough at first because I came from finance, so I didn't understand anything. But the way BA helped me was put me on a learning plan to understand what exactly I'm doing, what skills and what role could I get out of doing it. So I really enjoyed my time at Data and Automation. And yes, I currently have finished my placement, so I'm going back to university this year, but I am a campus ambassador, so I'll be doing many of these events, talking to people and understanding and helping to recruit people who want to join. Thank you.
Afternoon, everyone. So I'm Denny, and I'm sure you can hear my accent is a little different. I'm from South Africa, and I moved here about 3 years ago. And I did a master's in business administration, and that's how I rolled on to the commercial business graduate scheme at British Airways, where I'm doing my first placement as a digital experimentation specialist. I'd say the one thing that really appealed to me in joining a graduate scheme is when I got here, I was having a yes day, which turned into a yes month, which turned into a yes year of just taking on new opportunities. And I knew that I wanted a career change when I moved here. So the graduate scheme really appealed to me. In my current role, I work on optimizing the website, the customer journey on the website. I don't know how much you know about British Airways, but we're currently undergoing a huge transformation, and a big part of that is transformation of our digital platforms. And so I work on the customer's journey of booking, which means anytime you want to book a flight, I'm working on the website journey of that. We introduce new features on the website, and there's always new things on the website, but before we put them out there, we always test them. So I run a lot of A/B tests on the website before we actually productionize those changes so that everybody can see them. And that's pretty much what I do. And I think what has been really rewarding in this role is that I never worked in tech before, but I've had a really, really good year learning a lot of new skills in analytics, my data acumen, being able to take results and interpret them in a way that's going to drive commercial impact, but also increase conversions for the business. So it's been a really, really great learning curve. And yeah, nice to meet you all.
Thank you so much. Since this is supposed to be interactive, if you can scan the QR code for any questions you might have.
All right, yeah, so there's the QR code, so please scan if you have any questions, and we'll bring up the Slido and answer the questions as they come. Before all of that, though, can I ask everyone a question? Is that okay? Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So we're talking about landing an internship, graduate role, or apprenticeship in a tough job market. And tough is the word, because 2025, excuse me? So can we talk a bit, yeah? So you're in this market, you're applying all over the place. Some of them are airing you because they're like that, toxic, it's okay. The rest of them are rejections, and you're just like, but I'm skilled, I went to school, I have a head, what's going on? What is some advice that you give to someone in that and trying to then convert into a job? Please, in whatever order makes sense.
My biggest thing is just to be creative and try some unconventional routes. So, for example, start building your personal brand online. LinkedIn is a really great tool. A lot of hiring managers are releasing roles on platforms like that. So, building your online presence, networking with different hiring managers, different businesses on LinkedIn will get you in rooms. Attending events, networking sessions, meeting people instead of sending out CVs, that's a great way to get in the room. So try the unconventional routes, because gone are the days of sending CVs that get lost in the system and you don't hear back from companies, you get rejections because it is so competitive. And then finally, if I can also just say, building on your experiences and differentiating yourself, I think is really key to getting into those rooms.
Definitely. I would say, to add on that, with building your experiences, when I first applied to BA, I didn't have much work experience, but there were many societies at my university, one being Enactus. So I took on many different roles in societies just to make myself stand out, even though I didn't have the corporate experience. And again, what Denny said, make your name known. Like, when you guys do go into these rooms, make sure that you've introduced yourself to everybody, because it does go a long way.
Just to add on to what both of you guys have said, I'd say from an apprenticeship view, there's so many apprenticeships and so many people applying. I think you need to be really selective for the ones you want to go for, and then in your application, be passionate about the specific business. For me, I like going travelling, but I'm not really an aviation geek. Like, some people that applied could tell you a plane from just looking at it. That's not me. But I was quite expressive about the fact that I wanted to work for a global brand and work for a brand that is recognised around the world. And there's so many different job opportunities across the world. So I think me putting that in my application definitely helped my application stand out, if that makes sense.
And lastly, ensure that you do your research. I know you've most probably heard this one before, but have a look and see what the actual company's vision is. Have a look and see what their values are. I can say for us, when we're looking for people that are actually coming to join our company, we're looking for people that have really taken the time to look and see what we are about. That will help with regards to those applications. Also, don't be afraid to also show yourself in those applications. We're not looking for people that are just stiff and just are able to copy and paste everything that comes off the actual internet. Ensure that you show yourself, show parts of you, your personality, your character in your application. And again, it most probably depends on the area that you're actually looking to go into. Show your enthusiasm, show your passion through your application. That also will help you to stand out against other people as well.
And I think, just to add on to what Lesline is saying, is in as much as you're attending these interviews, you are also interviewing the company itself. So research is a key piece of that, but also making sure you have a wealth of experiences to understand yourself so that you can, pick the right fit. It's a career choice. You want to be happy. You want to be somewhere that you can bring your whole self to work. So I think research is a great piece.
Thank you so much. So we're going to do our first Slido question. So this can go for everybody. Working in the back end of a business like BA, what is the most interesting thing that you have found out about how the business works that surprises you?
Is this what I'm pressing?
You don't have to.
Okay, great. I'm not good with stuff.
I don't mind taking this one. I'll take this one. Obviously, coming in as an apprentice, I didn't have a clue about the wealth of jobs that there are. I think I was quite shocked to find out on my second week that it's somebody's job to taste all the wine that goes on the planes. I'd love to have that job, but I think just knowing that there's so many different opportunities, and as all of us have said, it's once you're in a company, it's quite easy to move across, get us a comment, or maybe trial a different job or do shadowing. So for me, that was a thing that surprised me, that there's just so many opportunities, even within BA, within IAG Cargo, which is our parent company, and even within Heathrow. So just the wealth of opportunities.
Anybody else want to give that a shot? What's the most surprising thing?
I have one too. So I recently attended and organized a day in training for cabin crew to learn more about what they do. And I was very surprised to learn that the cabin crew that works on these planes, you could work on a particular flight or a particular route and never see the colleagues on that flight ever again. Like, you don't really ever see them ever again. So that just shows how much they mix up how they plan and schedule like the staff on the planes, which is quite surprising.
Okay, I think I want to ask Danny, because we have a few questions for Danny as well. Could you tell us what your day-to-day role is like, and what is the most challenging part of your job? I also have a question on here that's sort of like, what was the learning curve like with your, like, would you say you do UX? What was that like?
So I've mentioned before that I don't come from any kind of tech background, so I'd say the most challenging thing was the mindset of test and learn and getting into the groove of that, but also the different tools we use. So we use analytics tools, and I think that training and getting into that mindset of being in analytics was the hardest shift. And I think a lot of the time when you're doing something new, I struggled a lot with imposter syndrome, like feeling like I shouldn't be doing that, I shouldn't be there, like this is not for me. And I really had to overcome that to be successful in my role, and build my confidence. And then day to day, what it looks like is mostly really just checking on those different tools, monitoring these tests on a daily basis, playing back a lot of these results, speaking to stakeholders, managing their expectations, and obviously driving that commercial impact within the role. But yes, it's very much a role where you work independently. There's nobody chasing you, but you have to deliver and make sure that you're doing these tests and feedbacking all those results.
Thank you so much. This question is for Malaya. How do you measure success when changing roles within the company often? And I think I also want Leslie to answer, because you had like quite a bit of experience with different roles as well.
Oh, I'd say that's, for me, because my placements have been so different. Like I said, transformation is very project management based, and we'd see deliverables or when projects would end. So that was, I'd say, success. I'm going to link it more to the cabin crew one, because sometimes I deal with cabin crew and they tell me certain stories and they are going through the most unimaginable things. Some people's parents, they've lost their parents, or they're dealing with poverty, or there's so much things going on. And if I could help that one person and give them a better contract or help them with their attendance and things like that, that would be success, even though it's not delivering a large scale project. And in the placement I'm in now, I do have an ongoing project. I'm organising the apprentice graduation this year. And for me, success will be on the night if everything goes well and if everyone has a good time and all of the vendors come in and go to plan. But it's quite difficult, especially if you're not constantly seeing deliverables, or you're not constantly every day getting an email saying, oh, you did that, that was good. You might think, oh, that I'm not being successful, but I think it's just different ways you manage it and measure it in a different way. So yeah, I'd say that.
Kind of off the back of what you were saying with regards to measuring that success, I think for me, over the years, I've had really good people around me, and they weren't necessarily in management. It could be colleagues that I've been working alongside of, or people that have actually left BA, but I've still kept in contact with. Sometimes I've had emails from customers. For example, I had a customer many years ago when I was in the terminal who came to my desk. She was traveling to Seattle with her family, so it was her and her 4 children. We had an issue where the flight was very full, and I had to speak to our colleagues in flight management to try and see if we can find a solution for her and her children. That day, and it doesn't happen often, I was in a position to be able to get her upgraded, and it wasn't just to one cabin. It would have been 2 cabins above where she was. Now, I said to her, I've got good news and bad news. And she said, give me the bad news first. I said, we've not been able to give you the seats where you're sitting. And she said, okay. Now, I was expecting her to kick off. She didn't. But she said, okay. I said, do you want to hear the good news? She said, yeah. I said, we've been able to upgrade you because the flight's very full. And she said, what? And she burst into tears. And I said, no, I'm not done. You're not in the cabin that's the one above where you are. You're 2 cabins up. Now, I soon later on came to find out that this was the first family trip that she had taken since her husband had died. So getting that double upgrade was a godsend for her. She said, if you had told me, even if I was sitting in the cabin or you were going to put me on another flight, I would have been okay with that. But the fact that you've been able to find a way to get me and my 4 children out to Seattle, I'll never forget that. Now, for me, it's moments like that that gave me that job satisfaction as a young professional coming up in British Airways in that sense. Fast forward now into this role as the work experience partner. I'm on loan to this team. For those of you, again, I'm using that terminology. I'm on loan to this team for 12 months. I'm 9 months in. Have I had successes in this role? Absolutely. I would never have thought that I'd be in the same room as heads of departments, being able to influence where we would have work experience placements. Being able to say, actually, we need more people in this area. We need more people to reflect the current landscape that we actually have outside of British Airways. So it shouldn't just be one color, one creed. We need to be reflective of what we see out there. And my voice being heard. For a while during my professional progression, voice wasn't heard. So the fact that I'm in these spaces now, that's where I'm seeing the success actually starting to happen, even more for me. I say these things, and I also say it to, I say the younger ones coming up now because I'm fully in my auntie era. I'm saying that right now. But I say it to these ones, know that your voice is fully valid in any room that you are in any sphere that you go into. Do not think, if I go into that position, maybe they'll not listen to me because I'm the youngest one in the room. Actually, they're the youngest one in the room, can bring so much more experience and value than maybe somebody that's been in there that has been resistant to change or hasn't seen anything actually happening for 20, 30, 40 odd years. So that's where I would say I would measure my success. I always go back to some of the thank you cards that cabin crew have given me over the years for when I would train them. And I look back at them and then I see them doing amazing things in the company. They're either still cabin crew or moved into different departments. I've even been invited to a few weddings, a few christenings. And I look back, anytime when I have one of those days where I'm feeling like, man, am I enough? Have I made as much of an impact as I'd hoped to? Of course you have, Lesline. Go and look back at the cards. Why do you think they call you Queen Lesline? So yeah, that's me.
Thank you so much. This question is also for Malia and Lesline, because you're in the early talent sort of space right now. A few of the questions I've asked, like what does the current landscape look like? What are the roles you're hiring for? Whether they're relevant to this room or if it's like work placements that people can, share with other people.
Shall I go first? Only because mine is younger, if that makes sense. Okay, so with regards to work experience, that would be from the age of about 14 upwards. So you would need to be in, obviously, secondary school or full-time education, but not university. So my thing is really just trying to push in those particular areas that we wouldn't ordinarily get students aware. I've spoken to a few people that are actually in this room right now that may not fit the criteria that they're looking for. But I've said, have you got cousins? Have you got friends? Have you got extensions to your network that involve young people? Let's get them in. Because if you don't know that these things are happening, if you don't see them, you don't know them, right? So it's important. Anybody that I speak to, I'm very passionate about getting young people from grassroots in, because you just never know. That person that does that one-day work experience with British Airways, then X amount of years later becomes flight crew, for example, or becomes a technical engineer somewhere, or becomes a head of marketing, for example. So I don't know, thinking about the ages and from what I can see across the room, I'm not sure that work experience in that guise would be something that maybe you'd be looking for. But if you've got family, friends, this is where I'm using my plug, by the way, please, please, please get them to come onto the BA website. We're recruiting at present now. Applications close on Thursday the 25th, so next week, Thursday. And that's my sales pitch done. But I'll hand over to Malia.
Just to touch on what Lesline said, I think I'm a product that doing work experience work. So I did work experience in May 2023. I really enjoyed it. It was a 1-week placement at Waterside, which is the head office. Then I stayed on to be a student ambassador, which is basically you just help out, go to events, basically similar to this, careers events. And then when the application opened for the apprenticeship, I applied straight away. And I think because I'd had that background and insight into BA, that's probably one of the reasons why I was successful, and because they saw that I was persistent and passionate. I think BA is quite broad in the range of schemes that we offer. So we've got the apprenticeships, which there's people on my scheme that are 28. So from 16 to 28 is my scheme. So I think that's quite broad. You've also got the degree apprenticeship scheme, which doesn't have an age cap either, I believe. It doesn't have an age cap. You've got the data science scheme. I can get into more detail, but I'd say the best place to check is the website. I think many people will be looking at the graduate scheme. So that ranges from finance, data, commercial business, future leaders, which is a really good one. So there's a lot of schemes and all of the information, the dates, and all of them open in October. So I think that's similar to when a lot of the schemes open anyway, but definitely check out on the website. And then we also do Insight Days, which is when you come into Waterside for the day. So some of them are sustainability, some of them are flight ops based, but you can really see what the business is about and sort of get a feel for what you'd like, because if you asked me this time last year, I'd be working the emerging talent team, I would have gone, oh, I don't really know if I want to do that. So you don't really know what you like until you try it. I've got some other friends and apprentices that are working in sustainability and they really, really enjoyed it, but before they'd never actually had an interest in sustainability. So I definitely say just keep your eyes peeled out. The bacareers.com is the best place to look for all of them in depth, and put your CV into the portal, because then they can always message you or give you alerts when it comes out.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to move to a bit of a more technical question for Cheyenne. As someone who did not have prior experience in data or AI, what was the hardest thing to learn in, and at what point did you find your footing? I'd also want Denny to pitch in, just because you also didn't come from a traditional background for your role.
So with data AI, when I was at university, I did one module called Database and Implementation, and this was more of the foundations of SQL, but I still wasn't really confident in it. But when I did start at BA, I was given 2 months training. So we used a specific platform called UiPath, which is similar to Power Automate. And within the 2 months, I was getting a lot of help from my team, because they did know she comes from finance. Maybe it might be a bit harder for her, but I feel like the passion that I had assisted with the learning, and it did help, because I feel like if you're not really passionate about something, it is harder to learn. So I just proceeded with the training. I asked my colleagues a lot of questions, and they were very open to answering my questions, but I feel like the training definitely, it put me in a place now where I can actually say that I enjoy what I do because I understand it. And yeah, that's mostly it.
For me, yes, I didn't have technical background, but I already knew that I was interested in technology. I did my dissertation in AI and how it impacts marketing, etc. So I knew I definitely want to focus on a tech role. However, that's so widespread and there's just so many different things you could do. And I think that's how I got placed in my current role, because of that interest. I'd say I've already touched on a little bit the imposter syndrome and how that was a challenge, but I think what helped me overcome it is that there's just so much support at British Airways, from training to working with people who've been in the business for close to 30 to 40 years. Leslie can attest to that because she's been around for a long time. But you just have a wealth of expertise. Everybody's always willing to help. You have very supportive leadership and managers to help you work through all of those things. And the biggest thing is when I joined is you're not expected to know it all. And I think when you start embracing that, that's when you really grow and develop. Assume you know nothing. And I think that's just generally throughout life. As if you get older, just assume you don't know anything, because then you can learn from people. Even somebody younger than you can teach you something. So that's kind of how I maneuvered that and how I navigated that.
Thank you so much. The next question I have is for Malia. You are incredibly articulate. How?
Oh, thank you. I'd say probably my parents. Obviously, they're not in the room, but a big shout out to them. I think they've always taught me to speak your mind. And I think when I was in secondary school and primary school, the teachers weren't as receptive. They were like, "Oh, you do talk a lot, don't you?" Or you don't. I'm not shy to say my opinion. I think it has been beneficial, especially when you're going into a room, similar to what you guys have said, where I'm the only younger person, I'm the only person of colour, the only female, and then when they hear me speak, they're like, "Oh, actually, she's not dumb, or she knows what she's talking about." And I think it helped that I have 5 siblings, so I have to, and I'm the middle child, so I have to speak up, or I'm not going to get heard.
Oh, thank you so much. This is a general question for the panel. How do you keep your confidence high and your presence known?
I feel like for me personally, as I'm very introverted, unfortunately, but I feel like when I was in my placement, always remembering that you're there for a reason, you were screened through maybe thousands of candidates and they chose you. So I feel like with being confident, just remember that you're there for a reason. And imposter syndrome is normal. You will go through it. But know that you have people around you supporting you, and it's better to be seen and it's better to be heard also. And just be rememberable. That's what I tried to say.
Just to basically double up on what you said, I think it's even going to events like this, the emerging talent team or wider people in the business will see us and go, "Oh, they're doing this. It means you're proactive." And it also makes them think, "Oh, if there's something similar that comes up, they'll say, 'Oh, Cheyenne was good for this event,' or they'll pick you again, or they'll recommend you for something else." I'd also say, similar, basically what you said, especially for my scheme, I think there was 10,000 people that applied and there's 20 of us. So even though when I first walked in on the first day, I felt, "Oh my gosh, I feel like an ant in a jungle," you have to actually back yourself and say, if anyone in this room has a job, you're on the step up. And if you don't, you're at this event, so this is going to give you knowledge to get somewhere else. So I'd say that would probably help with confidence and sort of believing in yourself. And once you know what you'd like to do, at least you're one step there.
For me, I can be a mix of an introvert and an extrovert. I very much feed off people's energies. And so I'd say something that helps build confidence or that has helped me is surround yourself with people who you can learn something from. Because if you surround yourself with great people, confident people, inherently you will also start to embody some of those qualities. So make sure that your friend groups, the people who support you, the people who you spend the most time with, make sure that you can learn something from them and build yourself through that as well.
And lastly, to kind of add to that, I like to have little words with myself, just to remind me that I'm here for a reason, and to remind me that no matter what happens, I'm going to bless somebody today. It could be just with a smile. I may not really be feeling it, but you just never know what somebody else might be going through. And then, for example, I remember, again, going back to my Terminal 5 days, I went to Pret a Manger for breakfast one morning, and I said, "Oh, hi, good morning." I got a grunt back. I was like, "Okay, can I get hot chocolate and croissant? Thank you very much, have a good day." And I wasn't being sarcastic or patronizing with it, but I genuinely wanted them to have a good day because they looked like they weren't having one. A few weeks later, I wasn't having the greatest day. And I was just thinking, God, how am I going to muster up the strength to get through this day? I go back, guess who's serving me? That same person. But the energy that they came with was, "Hi, good morning." I was like, "Hi? Oh, hot chocolate and croissant? Yes, please. Are you okay?" "Yeah." "Oh, yeah, I was having a bad day the other day, but because you came up and said good morning, that actually helped to lift me for the rest of the day." So it's those things that remind me, again, when I'm having those lows and I'm thinking, gosh, am I making the difference? I have those little words to myself and say, "Come on, Leslie, you actually are," you know? And sometimes in order for you to get what you need, you just need to be able to not think about yourself and give. They say it's better to give than to receive. And that's what helps me personally to be able to build my confidence and be what I want to see, be what I want to see, you know?
Thank you so much, everyone. This is a bit of a technical question for Danny. As someone in implementation and CRO development, I'd like to know what BA's analytics and experimentation stack is, please. Is it Google or Adobe or a mix?
Sorry, I missed the last bit.
What BA's analytics and experimentation stack is? Is it Google or Adobe or a mix?
We use a number of different platforms. For me, in my role, it's Adobe. But within experimentation, there's just so many tools that you can use. But yes, Adobe, we work a lot like in a very agile environment as well. So using Jira, using Confluence. But yeah, it's pretty much forward thinking, modern, using new technologies. And also, if you have a case for using new tools and technologies, they're very much open for that. Like I said, we are undergoing a huge transformation. So we want people who are innovative. We want people who are going to challenge the status quo, who are going to bring new ideas. If you've been previously working in UX development or anything like that, we want those fresh tools and those ideas that are going to add value. But yeah, I'd say very much working with Adobe Analytics, Excel, and Jira.
Okay, a final question for everyone. This question asks, what is the importance of adaptability in like the aviation space, especially with your different roles?
I would say even recently, so the level 7 apprenticeships got cut for everyone over the age of 21. And I think for a lot of people, especially within the business, because we offer a lot of internal apprenticeships, that was a big sort of, it was a big, not problem, but a lot of people wanted to sign up. And just us being adaptable and saying, okay, what else can we offer instead? And them doing discoveries and the team going into different departments, asking what are you missing and what you need. Like you said, the aviation industry is so dynamic. And I think after COVID, I think we all, even though I wasn't in the business then, we all took it for granted that, okay, we could stop flying at any time and we just need to be adaptable and dynamic and have the plans in place. But for my team, I know that we have been affected by like government changes and things like that overall. But just us being adaptable and changing it's just a part of our role, I'd say.
I would say more in the digital data space. Following the M&S cyber attack, we did have a lot of restrictions put on our automations, as a lot of our automations had access to many different passwords for many different departments. So we had various cybersecurity blockers on our automations, and this was very tough, especially when I was working, as all of our automations just stopped running, and we just didn't understand why. And all of the automations have benefits tied to them, so like a monetary value. So we would have many different business areas calling us, emailing, saying, okay, we didn't get the cabin crew report today. So with data and AI, I feel like it's always changing. There's always a technological advancement, even with AI actually coming. So I feel like in data, you just have to be very adaptable and resilient, as many of my projects just stopped randomly because of this cybersecurity issue. But, you know, in the end, we know that it's for a good cause. We just want the company to be more safe and secure. So, yeah, that's mine.
And I'll add to that, I think in my role, adaptability is also quite important when it comes to regulation. So from things like cookie consent and making sure that you are protecting customers, their data, etc., there's always things changing, and you have to make sure that you're ahead of it all and doing the right thing at the right time to, you know, keep our customers safe and protect them as well, and protect the company as well in the same breath. So yeah, I'd say you have to always be thinking about the future, know your stuff, know what's happening in the world globally, know what's happening in the market and in the industry, but also internally, there've been a lot of changes, and so you know, you might find that you're moved on to different teams, so being able to be adaptive is a very important skill to have.
Can I get the question again, please? Sorry, because I'm just engrossed here.
Okay. Could we read out the question again?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, the question was about adaptability in the aviation space in your different roles as well.
Okay, so for me within the work experience sphere, it's important that I am, our kind of role is adaptable to ensure that we're being able to support the business need. Because you'll notice that when we launch work experience placements, we launch them during term time and not outside of term time. I get a lot of emails, phone calls through from schools, from colleges asking, can we not have a placement during the summer holidays or the Easter holidays? But we actually can't. Reason being, because during those term times, we're able to have, one, contact with schools or colleges from a safeguarding perspective, and two, during those summer holidays, during those Easter holidays, what are people doing? Going away. So what potentially could then be impacted? The business. So a lot of areas we find turn around and say, actually, we can only commit to, for example, maybe one cycle a year. So it's important that we are trusting, we're being curious when we're asking those questions of the department, and really pushing and selling the benefits of work experience. I've also, I think one of you touched on resilience. It's important also that you are resilient, not taking things personally, being able to know that actually this is not even about me, this is just about what I'm working with, and being able to pivot from that space and place to say, okay, so how can we actually work together to ensure that we do get the work experience placements sorted and people in the business, but also we're not impacting the operation in that respect.
Awesome. Can we have a round of applause for BA, please? Thank you all.